Welcome back to another episode of Cool Story Bro, and today we have Lorraine Lee of Talee Studio.
Yeah, Talee Studio.
So before we get on to anything else, maybe you can introduce yourself, let's have your name. What do you do? What is it that you do?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, before that, thank you, Yim and
All good,
Masses, for bringing me in here. It's like my first podcast ever, so bear with me. Let's do coffee talk style.
It is a very chill.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man.
True.
Yeah, there's no pressure. So
True.
just chill, just be yourself. Just
Yeah.
tell your story.
Sharing another story.
Yeah. We just
right?
listen to cool stories of it from different people or different backgrounds.
Yeah, that's true. Well, to sum up what I do, I guess, I have a technically a jewelry house called Talee Studio. I launched it in Canada 2017 in August, and then prior to some plans moving back to KK for good, or Malaysia per se for good, I brought the brand with me over as well, and then I am establishing that brand in KK for now.
Damn.
So, but I'm technically the jack of all trades in that studio. I am the founder, the creative director too, but hoping to extend to different. Well, I wouldn't say extend, but hoping to get more people in to help me out in different areas. So yeah.
So as of now, Talee Studio is just only you? Are you the only person handling most of everything?
I guess on the entrepreneur way, yes, I am. Well, I have a few people helping me with, stuff that I would love to be part of, but I just don't have the time to put into making it better, like in copywriting, production, marketing here and there. I do need, especially when you're in a business that is one person, you sometimes feel like you need different people to, just bounce ideas off. And that's one thing I've been struggling with, So, families are also helping me out, in different areas of the business. So, yeah.
Right, I think, so probably by now people listening, they're probably like, oh, what is Talee Studio?
True, yeah.
So what is Talee Studio? What sort of jewelry do you make, and what is it about?
Okay.
Tell me a little bit of background. Like maybe we start with how Talee was began, how they all started.
Ooh, okay. It gets a bit personal, Yim. So,
no, don't worry. Okay,
yeah.
wait. Just to clarify as well, you are not a fashion major, right?
No, I'm not a fashion major. I didn't come from a fashion design background.
Yep.
However, I did come from a design background in architecture and fine arts. So I practiced printmaking during my uni days. Actually, in fact, I was a biochemist student.
Wow.
So it's a big transition, but it's a good one. So where were we? Oh, so technically, how I started Talee, it wasn't something planned out, I say, but I knew I wanted to get into, something along the line where I can work in a way with my own schedule, not necessarily a 9-to-5 job, just because the nature of the family. Well, now I have to talk about the family. I guess before Talee actually happened, a big part of what Talee is also my dad. My dad, 10 years ago, he had he collapsed from a genetic syndrome called Brugada syndrome. It was really rare. No one really knows what was it about. And it happened on my mom's birthday too. So when he collapsed, we found out that he had that genetic thing. There was no cure for it but to put a pacemaker on. And then prior to that, when he was in coma and woke up from it, we realized that there was something off about his comeback. He could not remember things. He could not identify things. However, he could remember my mom, which is, that's what they say, love is very powerful. So long story short, we realized going through the reports, he actually kind of went through a miracle phase. He left and he came back. So he didn't have oxygen in the brain for a period of 6 minutes. So they say 2-minute heartbeat stop with a 2 minutes no oxygen in the brain is brain dead. Total brain damage. So he had 6 minutes. So that was the start of a life for the whole family. Me, my sister, my mom, people around us as well. My grandma too, or my auntie. So we have to do things differently. We got to think about different ways even to eat, to talk, to move, going to the washroom. One of us have to take care of him, he cannot be left unattended. So I think that ties to everything else we do, including work, studies, day-to-day, breakfast time. So I knew that in the long term, I wanted to do something that if I want to be part of his life and part of the family's journey, I wanted to do something that is flexible but yet meaningful.
Yep.
So Talee came around where it was accidental, I think, I would have to say. But it also felt meant to be. I don't know how to explain that feeling, but technically, along the last 10 years, we know that certain things that my dad could remember and could retain based on his memory and his overall well-being, I guess. And one of those things was to tie nautical knots.
Yep.
It was the one moment where, because he used to he used to teach me and Sarah, my sister, to, tie knots during the boating days. He's a water skier, very fit water skier. I guess prior to that, that becomes muscle memory for him. So I was in a period of time where, so in Calgary, there was, I think 2017, we went through a recession where, because it's an oil and gas town, a lot of people were out of jobs, so even other industries were affected. So I was really contemplating what should I really do, because I was out of job too. I was working with a bag design company actually. So I make duffel bags, backpacks, messengers from scratch. So with this small team, but they've moved to Toronto because of that. I think I spent a lot of time with my dad, and we did a lot of knot tying, and then when they left, I realized these knots could have mean something to me, and I wanted to frame them as an artwork, as a typical, artist. You think of it that way, putting meaning into everything. But then I realized, like, these stuff can be, I probably could wear them if I can frame them up or anything. Yeah. So while I was out of work, I was also part of a nonprofit called Park. It's called Promoting Artists, I guess in definition, Promoting Artists Redefining Culture. Oh, wow. So it's a nonprofit organization where we, different walks of women who come in to help out to create this really cool I say fashion/art community, where we curate designers throughout Canada, and we provide them a platform to showcase their work. So we will handle everything from backstage, hair, makeup, those kind of things. So even runways and everything, model casting, everything. Technically giving artists a platform to be giving designer a platform to showcase their work on the runway without having to go so far yet. I think a lot of designers don't get a chance to walk on the runway unless you get to a certain level. So we had, besides that, there was a lot of projects that we were a part of. And I happened to turn one of those knots into like an earring or a necklace. And that's when the spark of Talee happened, because I wore them not knowing what is going to happen. And one of the founders said, "This is really interesting, and what is this about?" And I had no idea how to explain to her, because it came from something personal. And then from then on, they were like, you know what? Put the product aside. The story is very meaningful and very personal to, not just to them, but to everyone else. We're launching Park retail store. So if you have enough budget, if you have 10 days to like kick this off, we'll put you in line. So that was the start of Talee. And I remember I only had $50 in my pocket. It was like, if I do it, if I make it, great. If I don't, I guess it's fine. It's $50, right? I had $50 to buy my first domain, my first production material. It was pretty much selling one earring to make two, that kind of concept. I didn't have an investor. I didn't have enough capital to even just start a product, just to start a label. So it was a testing ground, and then now it becomes Talee Studio. So
nice. That's a crazy story though, how it all began. It's so random somehow.
Yeah, I know. So
it's quite interesting how nowadays, at least, like people, I studied economics, but I'm not even doing what I did, but nothing related to economics now.
True.
And you did architecture.
Yes.
And then you entered fashion. But it's quite a lot of people are like that. Even like our videographers, like one of them is an architect, and he ended up being a videographer instead of an architect. But it helps with what you do today.
Correct.
100%, right?
And I think it, it's a very fresh way of looking at the business as well. Like, a lot of people do ask, how do you get from, doing into production line works, or like how do you do like as simple as like a campaign, right? Or like certain things for Talee. I would say a lot of how I do things did not come from fashion. It came from, someone who sells hardware in a local store in KK. Someone. All my production lines are architectural processes. I don't have a specific fashion system.
So you're applying what you learned from architecture.
Correct.
Oh, that's cool. That's crazy.
It's interesting because it works on my way. It becomes my way now, and it's a system I'm creating for the next person who is coming in to help me out.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how big is the team now? Is this you now, right?
I wish there's a lot of Lorraines in the team. Yeah. Right now I have 2% helping me out, kind of on and off, part time, just because Talee's in that transition right now where I've been, because it's transitioning from a country to another country.
Yes.
So now it's like, having it to be 1 person to 2 to 3 to 4, right? So it's a lot of changes happening. Until I solidify everything, then there'll be like an actual team.
Right. So for now it's just you lah.
Correct. And now it's just me.
Yeah. I mean, it's how's like compared to like when you started in Calgary, right? So you were there for when did you come back officially? Last year?
So I came back last year, July.
Right.
July. And then but I was there for 6 years, 7. Yeah.
But
six,
Talee
7
was
years,
only late 2017.
Correct.
Right?
So it's been like 2.5 years.
So in terms of like just the business side of it, at least when you were there, was it tough for you to to do what you do today in Calgary as a woman at least?
It's not as tough, just because I think the makers designer community there is quite strong. So whoever is in that industry is always there to support you, always to help you. Like even for Park, as much as I'm part of the team, they're also a big part of my growth. Like
nice.
They do a lot of workshops, like teaching you like basic 101 accounting, for people like me who is not, I have to know the skill to be able to start my business, right? So I think it's not hard to get things going, but as you grow, that's that phase where you have to take a leap of faith to do a lot of different things, like being in this podcast maybe, or like getting into like press release, right? The stuff I think I won't be able to do as much there compared to here, just because I think when there's so much in one area, it becomes saturated. Then it becomes not niche anymore. It doesn't.
Fair enough.
So, and I think having it to be a fresh brand in Malaysia, I'm able to retell the story again from from heart, and again from the start, without feeling not too saturated in that way. So
when you brought it, because when you launched it there, it wasn't sold here yet, right? It was just mainly in Canada.
It was sold internationally.
Already when you started?
It was already. I've already opened up to international orders. So right now I'm getting a lot of traction from Canada, US, Singapore actually before Malaysia came.
Right.
Until I started in Malaysia last year, then I'm only just starting it now here. So
because I remember you were like 2 years ago or last year, you had a pop up at
I did. TDDI.
Yes, TDDI.
Correct. Yeah, there was a random one too. I happened to technically it was a trip back home, but a lot of people were asking about the earrings. They wanted to see in person. So traveling back, you do stopovers in Japan and stuff like that. So I said, you know what, I will do kind of like a Talee showcase or a Talee roadshow. So I'll do one in Singapore, one supposedly in Japan, but it didn't work out, and then one in Malaysia. So
how was all those trips that you did? Like, what was the reaction when people see your earrings? Was it like, okay, maybe you can tell me what was the favorite, like what is the one thing that someone said to you and you'd be like, oh damn man, that feels so good listening to someone say that about what you did.
Oh man, there's a lot of moments, but I think because I use unconventional materials, and it changes the way people think about earrings. And I think with the story, when people truly understand the meaning of what a product can be, that gives me butterflies, I guess. Yeah. Instead of just thinking of it as a pair of earrings, top, bottom, but the intention of it came from something personal, something meaningful. So I think when someone like actually had a moment of silence after I, tell the whole story and share with the process of making it, without purchasing it, and I think that's more valuable to me than just selling the pair of earrings. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great to see, like, I mean, especially when we come from a very small town, right?
True.
So it's not, and we don't really have a lot of people breaking out of like that small town, going crazy, going big. At least there's not a lot. I think as of now, I think Clinton knows that though. The big, in terms of music wise, the biggest person that came out of KK is K-Click. Mm-hmm. They're like a rap group lah, but they're like huge now. They're like probably the biggest rap group in Malaysia at the moment, and they're from Sabah. I was shocked when I found it from Sabah. I was shocked. I had no clue they're from there. But it's proud to see like people from Sabah coming out and do bigger things. It's nice to see.
It's true.
And you've come a long way. It's come a long way.
It's been a long way. Yes.
And it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough.
But it's a good tough. Yeah. So, and I say like it's never an easy road. However, it's a road of adventure. You just have to take it that way, And I think like even for Talee, I'm doing different things compared to other brands per se. I know I've talked to a lot of people on how to really collaborate, and I'm more into collaboration, community work, community projects, let's put it that way, through the brand instead of just campaigning for a sale,
Right.
And I find that not a lot of people are doing that here enough. And which is a good thing for me, that that way that I can really just go full out. Correct. Yeah. So, hopefully people do find that as a fresh look to see what a brand can really do, than just buy and sell. So
but it's cool though. Like what you did with the earrings, it's not something you see every day.
Correct.
Because when I saw it on Facebook when you posted about it, I was like, oh, this actually looks really good. But unfortunately, I'm a guy, so obviously I can't. I mean, not to say we have to like apply the gender thing to the earrings. Correct. I mean, obviously, if guys want to wear it, by all means do it. But it looks good, but it won't look on me. On my face, it would be like, oh, it looks funny. But it's nice. It's a nice. Yeah. I mean, the fact that it has a really good story that it actually came from a knot that your dad taught you how to tie when you guys were like.
Correct.
What was it you guys do in the yacht club? What's that? Wakeboarding?
Wakeboarding, yeah. So that was my weekends. Wakeboarding over the yacht club, and then kitziping after, and then the really awkward kind of band, tried to just sing their heart out. But yeah, those were the days. But I have to say though, I think if you did going back, now I think about it, going back to like special moments, I say for those who have saw the earrings, are the reaction from men that I get a lot more.
Really?
Like when the ladies bring their partners with them and they talk about the earrings, they are like more interested in the earrings than the ladies themselves. They're like, how do you, I think it's just a transition of how do you get from knots to something wearable.
Yeah.
And I think for some reason they appreciate it more. So this
honestly,
this brings to a new conversation. Men's collection coming soon.
Oh, for real?
For real.
Wow,
yeah.
shit. Okay, that is.
However, not earrings, not bangles, or like necklaces.
Yeah.
Necklaces or bangles. Yeah. But I'm going into a bit more on the classier side. So boutonnieres and cufflinks.
What's a boutonniere?
So when you have a suit on, there's a pocket. There's a
right.
seam.
So there's that little thing you put out.
Not on the pocket, but there's a little cut on the sleeves where you put your like little flower. Or,
okay.
So it's like a knot boutonniere or like a cufflink. So it's like a matching set with the ladies.
Okay, so in like your earrings, right? The way it's designed is thick and it's like a rope looking thing.
Correct.
So in Japan, I don't think it's Japan. So there's this thing called borotai. Have you heard of it?
Maybe not.
So borotai is basically
unless
like they apply the American Indian sort of like, okay, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this because I don't think I'm not like super knowledgeable.
It's fine, we're all learning. Yes.
So this.
Okay.
So they use cloth like that and they basically make it look like whatever like the thickness of it. Yeah. So basically it's like it's more on a American Indian sort of like culture.
Technique of making it. You
mean?
But
basically it's what they wear. So they have like, how they have like this is not a very small one, but usually they have like stuff from like
the
necklace.
Neckline.
So it's thick and they usually use like a very old coin as the little centerpiece like this.
Oh, I see what you're
like
saying. Okay.
Yeah. So when I see that, it kind of reminds me a little bit of this. I mean, it has. I'm not to say it's the same, but at least
it has like
the same sort of
the technicality of like
it's
making
very similar.
Yeah,
very similar. Actually, I don't really know what happens if I unravel all this. Like honestly, don't. But
we can try. Yeah, that's how you'll discover things, right?
But I mean, it's probably something you should totally check out because maybe perhaps you could expand your collection to that side because it's really, really popular now. Like people in the fashion industry now, people are like really. People like this kind of stuff now. People are actually they prefer the vintage sort of look over the stuff. So people like people are bringing back like really old looking cowboy clothes or stuff like that. People love that shit now. So it's it's maybe something you can think about.
Bringing back the time. No, it's true. And I have to say, the earrings or things that are coming out from Talee is so unconventional that even going into how I make it, it's something that is new for me because I'm prototyping. I actually spend 80% prototyping than the final product itself throughout my whole Talee career, I guess. Because I'm always... Sorry?
Are you like a perfectionist? Is that why?
Well, no, I think... No, I'm not. But I think to execute to a certain level of craft on the product, especially when it's new and it's not something I can Google and say tassel, rope tassel earrings or things like that, and I have to technically deconstruct and redefine the meaning of the material and see the capability of what it can do to turn it into something.
Wow.
Like, because all these yarns that so technically, for those who don't know, I have not seen Talee products. Most of the material that I use is Pima cotton, Peruvian Pima cotton, Italian pearl cotton threads, organic linen, and Peruvian wool. So these are materials that you use for clothes, not earrings. But I wanted these to be speaking a different language. They are made in a way, if I use this material and really deconstruct how it can become a piece of earring or something else like a boutonniere or like a cuffling, you can interact them differently because now these earrings becomes washable. You can swim with them, So it's a whole different language now that I'm going to.
That actually changes a lot of things.
Correct, yeah.
So it has a long shelf life as well then.
Correct, yeah. Right. And the longevity of the earrings and the idea of like reuse and revamp, I guess, I have the control of it because I make them from scratch. If someone wants to change the color, give it back to me, I'll do it again. Yeah. And so there's that interaction, a product interaction you get, not a lot of other earrings can do. Yeah.
Well, it's good though. It's actually nice to see because fashion is picking up in Malaysia.
Correct, yeah.
So there's a lot of like local brands now. Like there's maybe too many. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's there's a lot. So
true.
And a lot of them, at least I realize, I'm not saying that everyone's bad at what they do. There's some brands that I personally think that they are really they're original. They're really different. And there's some brands that you look at them, they feel like they're like adapting a lot from the West. So like big brands like like whatever is happening in the West, they just kind of like adapt from what they do. So
like acetate earrings, clay earrings.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's clothes, earrings, anything. They just pretty much not say steal, but they get inspired by all this Western culture. And to see something where you actually took something off. This is something that everybody can relate to because it's the ocean, right?
True.
So the boating is not just a Malaysia thing, right? It's like everywhere in the country has a sea. So
there's no cultural factor.
Yeah. So it helps. At least what I think a story really a lot of people can not say relate to it, but they can understand your story.
Resonate with it.
Yeah, they can understand the story because it's a really good story. And every brand that I feel like every big brand or every successful brand, you really have to have a really good story to it. And some of them like, so I spoke to this one guy. I'm not gonna say names, but he's from Sabah. So I'm not gonna say who, but so I asked him, so you started a clothing brand. So yeah. So I'm like, oh, so what is it? Why is it what it is today? Then he's like, oh no, I don't know, man. Like, they don't really have a story to tell, and I don't really have like anything. I just want to start a brand, so I just start a brand. So then one day, a guy, so he's looking for help for marketing. So this guy from one of these guys in KK, I can't remember his name. So he just spoke to him. So he wants to help him, but then he asked him, so can you tell me a little bit more about your brand? Like, what is it about? So he couldn't answer him. And he basically made up a story on the spot, and I'm like, man, this is not the work, man. Oh. And when I listened to that, I was like, all these things that you've been doing, you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of money, there's a lot of effort, a lot of ideating, and you gotta treat it as if it's your own. If you don't own up, if you don't even have a story to tell people, then really, what is there to tell about your brand?
It's true,
right?
yeah.
So are you any different from any other brands from, let's say, those like mass market brands from supermarkets, for example? Right, so it's good to know. I mean, it's like your story itself. Because I actually did a bit of homework like 2 days ago, so I just read, like look up some stuff. So when I saw like when I read about the nautical knot thing, I was like, oh shit, that's like really cool. Like that somebody actually thought of something like that. Because it's really creative though. Like I really never thought of it. Like never thought that people could apply stuff they do, you know, on their hobbies or whatever to actually apply it to something that you can sell. And it's.
Well, I have to add to that. Actually, I didn't really, explain the transition from how that was an inspiration, realizing that it was an inspiration to something new, something is Talee. You know, all the knots that are because they're all knot centric on my collection. I go by, it's kind of like, I'll say, I mean, for example, like Nike, you know, there's Cortez, there's Air Max, you know, and you go by the name or the style of the shoe, and then there's colors. So that's kind of the same wavelength that I'm going at. So there's different knot type by the name, and then the colors represent the story, not season. So for me, I don't go by fall and winter season or spring, summer. I go by stories. And they go by series. So in a way that they are kind of produced with a certain edition number. So
right. So you're saying that different colors means different stories to tell, right?
Correct. Yeah. It represents either a story of my own that I will share, or a inspiration of what is the next story to come. So, for example, I guess this is the first time I'm sharing. The next release for a series would be inspired by sand dunes. The idea of, I don't know if you know the meaning of sand dunes.
Sand dunes are like, you know, the
the oasis within the sand dunes in the Sahara Desert. So, it's indirectly talking about the festive season, which is Hari Raya coming up, but is a metaphoric kind of reminder to everyone that, you know, the idea of Ramadan is about perseverance, it's about patience, it's about family. And as you walk through the sand dunes of the Sahara Desert, you find that oasis within that journey, you know. So there'll be a hint of colors that represents the idea of oasis and sand dunes, and you know, finding peripheral moments around it when you close your eyes and you walk through the sand dunes, you know. So there's the sky color, there's the sand.
So all will be on the earring.
Correct. So I will represent that on the earring. So technically you're kind of wearing the story in some way, you know, thinking of product that way.
So that's your sort of like brand direction that you're going with Talee then.
Correct. Yeah. So that's kind of that's kind of how I read all my collections to be. Yeah. Going forward.
So the name Talee.
Yes.
So is it literally like Talee, like the Malay Talee, or?
Yes.
So
just as simple as that. However, no kidding. It's derived from Tali, like legitimately Talee in rope. Yeah. But I kind of made it personal with changing the Li to Lee. Okay. So that's my last name.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, shit. I actually didn't. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, a bit mind blown now. Actually, never. When I saw the name, I was just like, the first thing I thought was, because it looks like rope.
Yes.
So I was like, Talee. I actually did not think about the whole Lee. Yeah. It's clever though.
So I guess people do ask me, like, why not just put Lorraine design or something, you know? Man. But I think coming up from a fine arts background, you know, as an artist, my work is defined by my name. And I knew that if this brand is going to be more about people and community, and if I have a partner, it'd be kind of weird kind of carrying my name around, you know?
That's true.
And I don't want my name to be trademarked in a way that it's
kind of like, look at Jimmy Choo.
Yeah, you know.
He's like not even designing shoes for his own brand anymore.
I mean, like, as it goes good or bad, like, you know, I don't kind of want to have my name out there too much. So Talee is like a hint of a personal touch, you know. So,
I mean, but it's good. The story, it relates back to your family as well.
True.
So,
true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, but I did not see that at all. Oh shit! Now I feel a bit disappointed myself for not. It's damn obvious. I totally don't think about it.
That's one moment that I always get. You know, they like have a silent moment when they found out how the Lee came about. So
yeah, man. I actually did not look at the Lee. I was just like, and initially I thought it was tail.
Oh,
when I first saw it, I thought it was tail.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right though. It's tail. It's like Talee or something. It makes more sense.
Well, I guess to go back to, you know, why so direct in terms of Talee in a way, but I think the word or the meaning behind the idea of ropes really represents a lot when it comes to the practice of my business, even the way I think of day-to-day life. Like, For me, the idea of ropes, like it's about strength, it's about hope, and the inevitable like memories that tie everyone together. So I think that's kind of my hope for Talee in a way, where the earrings is a reminder of capturing peripheral moments, or like special moments that when someone put on the earrings, you see that person. And that's kind of my hope for Talee in some way.
So like when you started off in Canada, coming back here, was it like really, how different was it for you? Was it like really tough, or was it like, do you feel like you had to start from scratch? Because now you basically you're no longer, well, I guess you're still in contact with your friends in Calgary, but you're definitely not able to work with them as close anymore, right?
Yes, I still do keep in touch with them, especially on the park side of the team. We're still keeping in touch with like what's going on there, and what's going on here. I might even get them to continue taking shots for my new collection.
Nice.
So because they've been a big part of Talee too. But I say transition-wise, it's not something I didn't think about it actually. It was a culture shock for Talee and also for myself. Let's put it that way, because as much as Malaysia is home, but I've not been home for the last 7 years. So there's a lot that I have to catch up on based on like even language, food, people, friends. Like I've not. It's funny, I've come back to friends that I've not kept in touch for a long time. Not necessarily closer ones, but the ones that I like, haven't seen for many years, don't know where they, what they're doing, where they are. So it's a lot of catching up for the last 5 months, 6 months. Yet I had to, this is on a personal note, but I did come back to help with my family business in the wellness industry. So Talee was kind of on the side. Even in Canada, I was working with a fashion house called Aritzia, a Vancouver brand, a Canadian brand per se, but born out of Vancouver. Yeah. So I was a floor manager there for 2 years or so. Nice. So that was that, and then I was also doing Talee on the side. So Talee was always on the side. I've only started going Talee full time this year.
So officially now you're
officially 2020.
Nice.
Yeah. So, it's really refreshing to be able to wake up and focus on Talee right away, to like wake up from a dream of an idea, for Talee, and not feel bad about it.
So essentially, then again, just in Clinton's podcast, he mentioned girlfriend. Yeah, so this is the girlfriend.
Hi.
This is the girlfriend.
This is me.
So it's quite, so then both your schedules are pretty flexible then, in a sense, right? Yeah,
but at the same time dangerous too, because like, when you say flexible, we tend to find every reason to work, and we don't have time to relax, we have to almost, okay, you've got to stop here and really think about putting a schedule to our work and say 9, as much as it's funny, I would try to get out of the 9 to 5 job. Now I'm going back into putting 9 to 5
I understand that. Initially that's
the
same thing when I was like going freelance for a while, like half a year. I honestly thought it's like, you know what? Now that I have all the time to myself, I can really like focus on what I want to do. I can go get jobs here and there. But then I realized you can get really overly too like
overworked.
Yeah, overworked. But at the same time, it can also be too lazy.
True, yeah.
It's actually a very dangerous thing to. You have to find that little sweet spot in the middle. True. Otherwise, you'd be like, oh shit.
And to also work in a pace where it's about passion, not than work itself. Yeah. Because sometimes when you're doing something that you really love doing, finally, right? And then it becomes like work, then it's, for me, it gets a bit scary. That's when I'm like, I want to make sure that every moment, every time I put into Talee, it's out of passion, out of love, out of, out of everything I do in life, I guess. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah.
So what was the biggest like noise you've made with Talee?
Noise?
Like, isn't like maybe like some big brands approach you or want to use you for a model shoot, or use your products for a shoot or anything like that?
Yeah. Which is actually interesting that you mentioned. I think yesterday was the first time I actually met a stylist in KL, and she was able to connect me with some brands here to do campaign shoot.
What were the brands?
I don't know if I should disclose this here.
No, the thing is like, Masses is a very strong what do you call it? We have a very strong relationship with all these local brands.
Okay, cool. So I could actually.
Yeah. So you should totally do it.
So it's a campaign shoot for Uma. I don't know if you know Uma.my, but she focuses on scarf wear. But she's got a new collection with outfit as well. But the photographer is Armani.
Armani?
She...
Is it Malay girl?
Yes, I've not met her in person,
Armani.
but I've been
Armani is a very interesting name.
Yeah, but I've been very interested with her works. She has a very creative direction to her work. It's more on an art based than like a campaign, like, you know, editorial shoot based. So yeah, so I think that's a fresh start for me. And then I think, like, if you say aha moments, I've yet for that too. I mean, we talked about it actually with Clinton. I said, what is that moment when you realize that Talee made it? Probably when Oprah Winfrey will wear it, you know, or like someone like Meghan Markle will wear it, right? But I think when I didn't realize that Talee was actually featured in Elle Canada magazine and fashion magazine. So that was kind of a big jump for me, because it wasn't a fashion house, established fashion house. So like, I'll say a jewelry line, you know, I was just starting out, still figuring out things, and yet they, you know, it was nice enough for them to acknowledge that it's something unique.
Yeah, because honestly, when I see the way Talee is positioned now, right, like when you look at it, I honestly think it's like, oh, it's a big business. It looks like it's successful. It looks like it's killing it, you know, like honestly, not to say you're not, but it looks like in my mind, I feel like you have like a team of 10 or a team of 7. You know, it looks like that. And then when I found out that, oh, it's just you, I was like, oh shit. But it's still, you know, it's nice to see how you finally figure out a formula for you to kind of work on your own.
Yeah, it's possible, but you know, you do get sleepless nights when, you know, I'm a jack of all trades, right? Within the company, I'm the accountant, I'm the marketing, I'm in, you know, but I think businesses starts that way, you know. I gotta learn all these things before I say I can hand it out to someone.
No, honestly, to be like to be a boss or whatever it is, you have to learn every aspect of the business.
Correct,
even if you're a major in like marketing, you have to learn accounting, you gotta learn everything, because it will help you, you know, do a better work at what you do as well. And it helps you understand the business as a whole. Because I think it's easy to start a brand. It's hard to sustain a brand.
Correct, yes.
It's just like, and not even a brand, just a company or anything that you do, it's tough.
Yes, it's true.
The toughest part is really to like
sustain it and keep it alive, you know. And you know, Talee is in a position where it's for me, it's a little tricky, because it came from something personal and now it's going into an actual business. I am still, even for me, I'm still figuring out how to really break that, to still have it personal but business, you know, because when it's too personal, everything becomes too personal.
That's true.
Decision making, even person who buys it becomes too personal, and I'm trying to find a sweet spot where I can still have that to say that, you know, it came out from a personal journey, but it's flourishing into an actual business, you know. So I'm still figuring out that middle. But that's
interesting that you said that, because I think if you make it too personal as well, it's hard to get someone to do your work for you then, because you'll be like super nitpicky about everything, like no, this is not what it is.
Even like when someone make a comment, you're like, but it's from the heart, you know. But you know, then again, you're like, no, you can't, this is a business, you know. You can't expect people to think of it the same way I think of it. You know, I'm only a small part of what the brand is and what Talee is, and it's up to them to take it forward. So,
I agree. So this year is gonna be big for you then.
Yes, there'll be exciting things happening.
What can you tell us now that we are allowed to?
Let me think. Actually, there is one thing. This is a different tangent of where Talee is heading towards. It is a brand, however, I'm growing into more community-based brand. So there'll be a section called Untied. Untied. So it's a section a segment where I will interview women, men around the world, I guess. I guess we have to start close, which is family first, right? You always start from there. But interviewing people, not about who they are, what they do, but about their life journey, life stories that is worth sharing. You know, life stories with the resilient moments, the moment of challenges, and how do you overcome that? The same way how I overcome Talee through, you know, making knots with my dad as a cognitive therapy, you know. And I think those messages can sometimes be on closed doors, you know. So the idea of Untied is kind of untying with you, and then you're not alone in this, you know. I'm with you, and it's a intimate and it's a safe space for you to just share that part of you, and hopefully someone will be inspired and moved by the story the same way I did.
So have you inspired people? I'm sure you have.
Well, you know, I'm just a small part of that, and I think it takes a village to do that.
I mean, it's a process, and
Yeah,
at
true.
least you're getting there. At least you know what you're doing, which is good. I think the
Yeah.
thing about like brands like these, right? It's really good to have a DNA. Your DNA is basically like family ties, like those kind of stuff like that.
True.
So it's good. It's really good to have like this sort of thing because it helps with putting out products. It helps with your coming up with ideas and stuff like that. Otherwise, if you have no basis of it, you're just gonna end up doing it blindly.
Correct.
And it's gonna end up
A bit everywhere.
Yeah, there's
right?
no DNA to it. And
Correct,
people look at it, it's like,
yeah.
they're just doing everything.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because as Talee grows too, there's so much opportunities out there that I'm getting.
Yeah.
I have to be very selective and I am selective based on what the brand represents and what it does when it goes out there, right? And I, having to go back to the origin purpose of why I launched Talee really helps me to make decisions as I go.
Yep.
So it always ties back to creating meaningful things, intentional things, and hoping to be an inspiration to someone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel inspired listening to how Talee started.
So
I mean, honestly, like, you don't know the story of how we started this company? Like, so how okay, Masses is started by Brian, like one of my partners, like 5 years ago. So he's a media hub. So then I worked with one of my other partners in an advertising agency for like half a year. So then Brian calls him and asks him if he wants to start an agency together. So then I have never met Brian prior to this. I was just working with my other partner, Joshua. So then one day we were just playing games. So I met Brian through playing
games.
Yeah, Call of Duty on like PlayStation or Battlefield. I can't remember what it was already. So we met through gaming. We haven't met in real life. So after gaming, we had a good connection. We laughed a lot, we talked a lot of shit, and we just connected instantly. So then one day, so Josh has asked me, if you're interested in doing this. So I'm like, why not? Let's meet up. So I met him. So after that, this is how it happened. So basically, we just played games together, and then we met the first time we met, and then all this started already. So it's like, it's quite a random thing. There's no like...
But those are the best stories, It's
a very simple story. Like, it's not just like simple, like, I get from A to Z just like that, like, it's pretty much that. I mean, I'm honestly really blessed because my initial plan was to work and get experience until like maybe 2-3 years. Only then I'll come and do this. But meeting them, it was a blessing. Like, I didn't think... So basically, they fast-forwarded most of my shit in like... basically, they minus 2 years of everything. But the only thing is like, it's tough because, I gotta... Because I'm not from a creative background, right? So everything is more based on what I like, based on what I like to do. True. And it was a lot of things I had to learn myself. I could learn how to like, use Photoshop or use all these like different things. And I'm kind of happy with the where we are at today, as in like, because if the internet wasn't big today, I wouldn't be here today. True. Because there's no way I can go and take a course anymore, right? So it's just YouTube tutorials and just learn all this stuff on my own.
It's crazy to think that we spent so much money, going to university.
Exactly right. And
like,
ended up like...
ended up just kind of going back to square one, the internet.
Exactly. Because the internet is... I mean, to be honest, when you're in uni as well, we rely on the internet so much.
It's
the
true.
Majority of our assignments, we're saved by the internet. I don't think
professors would probably say, do you think this is right?
Yeah,
Google?
They probably even ask Google, because
true.
Google is the master. Google is the one with the PhD.
True, you're right.
Yeah.
Or more than that.
No, but I honestly think that, even the more years to come, like honestly, education is not, it's a priority to, honestly, and I think about uni, if people ask me what's important about going to uni, is to really make connections with people. That's pretty much just that. Like, because most of the people that you end up with after you get out of uni, you're still gonna probably work with them or like, True. Maybe have something, work together or something like that, I don't know, collaborate or whatever it is. Because honestly, if you take uni or college or school, everything out of your life, then you're gonna have zero friends, man.
It's true. Yeah.
Honestly, it's the best place to get yourself out there, meet people. And I honestly think that's the best part about college or university.
Yeah.
I think that's...
And learning about yourself through uni, right? Because you don't get to really be yourself and do what you need to do and stay out of the house, maybe, right? And then you really get to understand yourself better, home and at work and at school, right?
Yeah, because honestly, if you don't have anyone, like if you don't hang out with people, right, you'll never know what you're bad at. True. You never know what you're good at. So, if I'm just gonna sit at home, if I'm like an angry person, then I'll just be angry. Like,
True.
You will never know that, because nobody's gonna be there to make you angry.
True,
you're just gonna like sit down there, just think you're okay, but actually you're not.
Yeah.
So honestly, think like if people ask me, should I go to uni? I'm like, yes, man. You should totally not skip.
However, I have to say, when I think it depends too on the course that you're taking. Of course. When I have to say, the kind of courses that I've been taking uni, which is fine arts and printmaking and architecture after, those become my my asset to start Talee in some way, right? So it really depends on what you take, because I think, yes, there's community based, there's all the, building friendship through uni, but there's all these skills that like I don't get a chance to go to business school for.
Yeah.
So I'm using all these skills to really run Talee in some way, really just trying to change whatever I've learned from there and then try to apply to something new. So I think that not specifically techniques, but just the understanding of using a certain skill and then like reapplying to something else.
I think what course is really good for that? Engineers. Engineers are really good at everything. I honestly think engineers can figure things out. I mean, just get them to do anything.
Yeah.
Like you ask them to do design, they'll be able to figure it out in a week, man. I think they're like, because the way engineers break things down is really just like,
and the way they see things.
Yeah, it's very different. It's very different. Yeah. I honestly thought like, if I study engineering, I think the way I'll be thinking is very different. Because the way they actually, even though they don't end up doing what they do, so I know like a photographer who's an engineer. So he's really successful. He's just like a hobbyist turned into a professional photographer.
Oh, wow.
He used to be an engineer. So the way he does it is like, he never go to school for this. He never learned anything from this. He just basically... Out of passion. He just go to YouTube and learn. He just really try and error. And today he's like one of the biggest photographers in Malaysia. It's crazy.
I know. I've actually encountered an engineer, or a mechanical engineer, who saw my earrings. It was a good comment actually. He came out from it. He said like, "Wow, you have good mechanics in this." Well, I mean, coming from an engineer, it's good. It's good. But like, they think of, they really deconstruct the earrings from their mind. When they see it, it's not about just the aesthetics of it. They see. And they'll ask questions. I'm like, I'm really glad you're asking those questions, because those are things that not people usually ask, So, but yeah.
I guess maybe that's why guys they're more like crazy about earrings, because they're like, oh shit, how do you do this, man? It looks like...
no, seriously. I'll tell you, most of the women who see my earrings or have saw my earrings, the one thing they would ask, obviously is about the price, or how do you wear this, or what color suits me. But for guys, it's most of the time it's like, how do you make this? Like, why this? And a lot of them don't know it's earrings. They will pick it up and they're like, whoa, it's actually earrings. Yeah, because
initially when I first saw it as well, I was wondering, what is this? Because it looks a bit too big for an earring, right? I thought it was like an accessory or like or some sort of like a bangle or something. Then when I found out it's an earring, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's a pretty different... Because the big earrings you see is like the hoop earrings.
Correct,
It's really common stuff. You don't see stuff like that, because this is like pretty... It's original. It's really, really original.
Yeah, so... And I try to, I think it's unique in a way where, when I make earrings, a lot of people just think of the earring or the product. I think of the product, I think of the things around the product. So the space around the ear. How do you wear the earring around the loop? Whether it's a thin loop, thick loop, long loop, and it should work in all kinds. Instead of just one type. Even color choice. Like I don't take in from the primary color wheel. I take a hue up or hue down so it matches all skin tone. Yeah. So when people do ask me, actually one question people always ask me, what color suits me? Because when they see the full range, they're like, I don't know what to pick, And I always say go with skin tone. If you're a warmer skin tone, go with a warmer tone. Right. If you like a pop of color, go with the cooler tone. But the earrings are tiered in 3 colors, so they're a balance most of the time. Even if you pick a color that is off your chart, if you do buy something that is close to that color wheel, it works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you really put a lot of thought into
a lot of thoughts into it. Yeah. So,
but that's good though. At least, I mean, now they have nailed down those part of things. You can just really focus on creating now, right?
True. Yeah. Hopefully, that's the future. When I get a team, I just want to focus on creating and making of Talee, I guess, product wise. Just designing and creating new things, I guess. And then the rest will just handle whatever it needs to do.
So is there anyone on your mind that you really want to collaborate with? Ooh, like a brand or a person? Yes. I don't know, it could be anyone.
I think it's funny you mentioned that, because when I think of someone I want to collaborate, it's not just the person itself, but the personality and the kind of things that they do that I think Talee would actually bring it to a different level for them. Yeah. Probably Yuna.
Yuna. Oh,
Yuna.
Actually, I can totally see her wearing your stuff.
Yeah. Though. I think Yuna would be a cool one to collaborate with.
Because she has her own like scar.
Yeah, and she's pushing the edge, with a lot of different things of how she represents herself. So, I like that. Another person, I think. So here's another interesting thing. So Talee itself, because the way it's being designed, the material I use, they're quite matte.
Yeah.
So people associate that with everyday wear, not necessarily day to night. So I'm actually coming up with, besides the men's collection, I'm coming up with a luxe version of Talee where there's beadwork, there's gems on it. So it's really taking it a different notch. So it's day to night now, and that I can do. So I'm hoping to collaborate with maybe bridal designers or designers who does evening wear, just as a support maybe, or collaboration to work together, because it have to work both ways, right? The earrings needs an outfit, the outfit needs an earring, so or something else. I don't know. I'm open to things.
So besides Yuna, wait, you mentioned who else you're collaborating with? Actually ask you a question. Yeah, actually answered already. Never mind.
Yes. Who, like potential of collaborations, right. I guess.
So, but as of now, do you have anyone that you already, besides that photographer that you talked about, and besides that band, like, is there any more that you're like planning out throughout the year?
I've nothing solid planned out yet. There's a lot of just conversations happening now with different people that I'm working with. But because I just set up Talee Studio, like legit Talee Studio, I have a space now to work for my in KK. I'm actually going into a different segment of Talee too, besides Untied, where I will do showcases / panel talks. Where I say people around me who may be in the industry or not, that actually could help Talee potentially help people who are in the same industry as me. And especially in KK, there's not a lot of resources for that. Like someone who can really be a mentor for marketing strategies. How to even do like proper social content, right? Even stuff like that I need to know based on, yes, if you have the technique, but it's a different language here. It's a different, what do you call it? It's a different traction of, interests, right? There's different ways to say things on the product too. So, I'm hoping to bring people here actually from KL over to KK to do this. So, masses. No,
don't worry about it.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah. Okay. I can't really hear myself though. So.
I mean, honestly, I've been wanting to Kamatan, like stuff like that. Like I really want to go back and cover those.
Correct.
But it's just like timing is just like always on the wrong. Like every time I want to do it, it's be a bit too busy here to do anything.
True.
Yeah, but I would love to, because there's so much things in KK that people don't know about. No, it's okay, man.
I can't hear myself though.
But you can hear on the other side.
No, can't.
It's okay. I mean, just
okay. I'll just speak through the
I'll
mic.
just make sure you sound fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of things in KK that people here don't know about. People here when they look at KK, they'll just. I mean, first of all, it's kind of like boring now that people keep saying that we live on trees. Because we actually have
we're
like
far from that now.
Bro, we have like nice ass bungalows and beach houses, dude. And we have like an airport, man. The fuck you guys on about? We live on trees. So like
or more actually.
Yeah, no, honestly, there's so much cultural things to experience in KK that people don't know about. Like maybe the Harvest Festival is getting bigger and bigger. So that's one. But aside from that, there's Mount Kinabalu, there's islands, there's food wise, KK is a bit it's been a bit not as good as 10 years ago.
Yeah,
honestly, I think
right.
it's like a bit.
I think not because the quality did not depreciate because maybe a different generation took over, but I think it's catered to something to different people.
Yeah, because it's a very. I think it's one of the reasons why it's because it's tourist heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Reasons, so they're really making things for that certain group and forgotten the locals, right?
And because to be honest, cost of living in KK is really high though.
Really high.
Yeah. So if they complain that KL is expensive, try it live in KK, man.
True.
It's expensive.
And it's limited too. You don't get choices.
You don't have a lot of choices, man.
So I'm still learning that part of my own hometown.
So are you releasing anything soon? Like anything new soon?
Yes. Well, actually, this will be new then. I guess whoever's listening to this podcast, I don't know if you will release it in time.
When?
So I'm actually doing my first kind of like a next chapter sale.
Okay.
I don't think of it as a promotion where you just sell everything off, because I do hand make everything, but just giving a chance for those who didn't giving a chance for those who have never wore the earrings or have never owned one and want to have it before I close that chapter of that series.
Okay.
So I'm putting a 2-week sale for all the earrings on my website, and then giving room to newer ones. So I will be releasing about 3 to 4 new series on different wavelengths. So there'll be a mini series for Sand Dunes series, but there will be a really big collection now that will be on an inspiration of the botanical sun. Okay. I'm not going to explain that until you see the collection. That'll be exciting. Sure. But it's going to be a tropical move for that. Nice. Yeah. Because it's finally... I'm finally able to do that, because for the longest time I wanted to do that in Canada, but it just didn't make sense for me to do that, just because I'm not... The brand is a Canadian brand, per se, because I registered the business there. So when I moved back now, finally I can say Talee is, in Sabah, and it's inspired by my own hometown. Yeah. I can go full out. So, yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. So... that's all the time we have, unfortunately. I hope you had fun.
Oh yeah, I did. It's my first podcast. How does it feel? How do you feel? It's good.
Was it like what you expected it to be? Was it like,
I guess it's a good sign when you don't realize you're on a podcast, right? Yeah.
That's good. That's good to know. That's good to know. That's good to know. Right. So anyway, again, this is Lorraine from Talee Studio. Talee Studio is they do like bohemian earrings using... Well, they look like rope. I mean, for a layman like me who's not into this kind of thing, like I'll explain it to you the way I can understand, which is it looks like rope turned into earring. That's the dumb way of saying it. But if she's gonna explain it, it's gonna be like,
I'll give you a definition.
Yeah, give me a definition.
It's wearable art piece.
Okay, wearable art piece. That's the fancy way of saying it, right? Yeah, but it looks good. It's really good. If you guys are thinking of gifts to get your girlfriends, totally should get this.
Or mom, sisters. Bridal.
Yeah. And also she'll be releasing some guy stuff, which you guys will find out soon. So make sure to follow her on.
So I'm on Instagram. So you just follow me on Talee Studio. I've got a website as well. So it's taleestudio.com. If you want to see the collection in person, you can also visit Fern Boutique in Bangsar. They are my first stockists who are carrying all my collection. Nice. So you can go over and check it out in person.
Awesome. All right, there you have it. It's time to, peace out again. So there'll be a lot more like crazy shit, like crazy people. I'll be talking to a lot of people soon, and you guys gotta probably, let me know if you guys like it or not. Leave some feedback in the comments below. Let me know what you think of Talee. It's a pretty original product.
Thank you.
So, there you have it. That's all. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.